All right, here is our boy Zion Williamson, and he's nice and slimmed up. Luca's on Men's Health magazine cover. Zion's nice and slimmed up. Everyone's getting skinny and sexy for this 2025 2026 offseason. And let's just do it. Let's buy in. Let's jump back on the Zion Williamson hype train. I'm here for it. Man looks great. Zion had a quote where he says, "This is the best he's felt since college, since his days at Duke." And if you remember when Zion was at Duke, he looked pretty much just like this, to be honest. He was nice and slim, just a freak explosive athlete. He was slim, yet still very powerful and stronger than everyone else on the court. It's pretty much what he looks like right here. When I first heard Zion's quote, "Oh, it's the best I've felt since Duke," I was happy. I was thinking, man, that's great that Zion feels great. Hopefully, he'll be nice and explosive, and we can see, the best version of Zion that we've seen since I think it was the 23-24 season. I think he played 60 games or so, and he looked pretty good at that point. So I heard that. I'm like, that's badass, Zion. You're nice and healthy. I love to hear it. But then part of me was kind of confused. I was thinking, why is this the best you felt since college? Zion's only 25 years old. He doesn't have a degenerative injury. We'll get to Joel Embiid in a second. I feel like the first 6 years of their career are great to compare next to one another as far as their injuries and things like that go. But part of me was confused. I was thinking, you're at Duke, you're a freak athlete, you're so explosive, so much better than everyone else as far as athleticism goes. And then you make it to the NBA, you have all the money, all the resources, best trainers in the world, and you just don't have the discipline and the focus to diet and do things right and keep yourself looking like this. In my opinion, Zion should have been looking like this for the past 6 years, the whole time he's been in the NBA. But you're young, you get all this money, you live in New Orleans, the food's delicious, and there was a point where Zion ballooned up to about 300 pounds. If y'all remember, his face looked pretty fat, just to say it is what it is. And, that's just a discipline thing, staying with your diet and keeping yourself healthy. So I feel like a lot of Zion's injuries were because of his diet and just not taking care of himself the way that he should have. But it seems like he's taking that more seriously now, and boy just looks nice and slim. He looks like he's ready to ball, and hopefully we'll see some great things from Zion. But Zion's played 214 of 492 possible games for this first 6 seasons of his career. No one plays all 82 games anymore, but to miss more than half of your games at 25 years old, that's definitely a concerning thing. So he's only played in 214 games for the first 6 seasons of his career. There were 2 seasons where he played 60 or more games, and there have been 4 seasons where he played 30 games or less. So, it's not like he's not capable of staying healthy and playing, 60 plus games. There's been 2 seasons where he was able to do that just when he's keeping his weight down and staying on his training and keeping himself healthy. It's not like Joel Embiid. People like to hate on Joel Embiid. He does flop a lot. He does some things where you can hate on him. I don't mind if you want to hate on Embiid. But with Embiid, he has a chronic knee injury. He actually has a degenerative knee. So Joel Embiid's injury is chronic. Like, it's not going to go away. All he can do is just treat it and try to play through his chronic knee injury. Where with Zion, as far as I know, he doesn't have any chronic degenerative injuries for his knees or his ankle, his feet. It's hard to, when he was close to 300 pounds, even 280, whatever it is, it's hard to run up and down with all of that weight and to be jumping 48 inches in the air and just taking that impact over and over again on his knees. So with him being slimmed down, hopefully that will lessen the impact on his knees and his body overall. But with Joel Embiid, I've heard quotes from his teammates where he gets done with the game, he takes off that big ass knee brace he's always wearing, and his knee's like a fucking cantaloupe, just like a volleyball. His shit is 3 or 4 times as big as it's supposed to be, and then just from running up and down, there's nothing he can do about it. He has to go back into treatment, get his swelling back down, do whatever the trainers do for Joel Embiid, then try to get him ready for the next game. So he's just playing through just that terrible degenerative knee. It's a chronic thing that doesn't go away for Embiid, so he's just going to be dealing with that for however much longer he plays in the NBA. It's not going away. Where with Zion, again, I haven't heard anything about him having a degenerative knee injury or ankles or anything. Again, just all that weight puts a lot of pressure on his joints, but just disappointing to see him come out of Duke. He pretty much looks like this, and in my opinion, if he was dieting right and just training right, again, he's a young man. You freaking turn into a millionaire overnight. It's not easy to stay disciplined, but in my opinion, if he was disciplined and on it with his training, his diet, since he came out of Duke, he would have been looking like this the entire time, and he wouldn't have missed nearly as much time as he has missed. He missed the entire 2021-22 season because of a fractured right foot. The foot was fractured. I don't think he was going to miss the entire season. They had some setbacks in his recovery. I don't know if he re-injured it or what it was, but he ended up missing that entire 2021-2022 season. Getting into Joel Embiid, after his first 6 seasons, so just like Zion's first 6 seasons, Joel Embiid only played in 209 of those possible 492 games. So 492 games possible for both guys. It's been their first 6 seasons in the NBA. Zion only played he only played 5 more games than Joel Embiid, 214 games compared to 209 total games, and Joel Embiid missed his first 2 entire seasons in the NBA with that broken foot or whatever foot issues he was having. Missed the entire first 2 seasons in the NBA, and even with him missing those entire first 2 seasons, they're still pretty much neck and neck. Again, 214 games for Zion his first 6 seasons, 209 games for Embiid in his first 6 seasons. And if you go 6 seasons with these injury problems, I feel like Philadelphia might have been about ready to give up on Embiid. I don't know that for a fact. Trust the process and all of that. Only Philly knows what they were thinking. But for me, if I'm a GM or a head coach, if I'm an executive and I go through 6 seasons with my superstar player and they don't even play in 50% of the games, of course I'm worried about that. But with that being said, we already know what happened with Joel Embiid. After those first 6 seasons, he comes into year 7 and he's just playing like a fucking god after that. He has 5, 6 seasons straight where he's averaging basically 30 points per game. He's a perennial MVP candidate. He did actually win an MVP as well. I think it was 2003 when he won his. So just perennial MVP candidate year after year for like 5 or 6 years straight. And that didn't start until his 7th year in the NBA. Guess what season Zion's going into? He's going into his 7th year in the NBA. If I'm if I'm the GM executive, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm really confident they probably looked at Joel Embiid and his career and said, all right, both guys have been having some lower body injuries. Again, Joel Embiid had a degenerative knee. He still does. It's never going away. Where I don't think Zion has any degenerative knee, ankle, anything like that. So if I'm a someone in the Pelicans front office, I'm probably looking at Zion with more upside and looking at him more positively than I would look at Joel Embiid. And with that being said, Joel Embiid was still able to put together 6 seasons of just godlike basketball, being one of the most dominant players we've probably ever seen in the NBA. I forgot the season it was, but he had a season where he averaged more points than minutes played, which is just insane. That's crazy scoring to be able to do that. But again, if I'm in the Pelicans front office, I look at that and say, Zion's coming into his 7th year in the NBA. Most players after year 3 or year 4, they really start to figure it out and put things together. Again, it wasn't until year 7 for Joel Embiid. So I'd be looking at Joel Embiid and looking at Zion and saying, Zion, he looks nice and slim and sexy now. We cut it up. He looks like he's taking his health more seriously. He's taking, just keeping that weight off of his joints more seriously. Again, he said it's the best he's felt since he was at Duke. It was bittersweet for me because I feel like we could have been seeing Zion, in this kind of shape for his entire career. But, that New Orleans Cajun food, whatever it was, he ballooned up to 300 pounds, if y'all remember, just a couple of seasons ago. But I'm happy Zion's taking his health seriously again. He slimmed himself down. He looks like he did at Duke in this picture. Some people said it's just the lighting, whatever it was, but go watch a video of Zion right now. The dude really is slim. He looks really good out there, and I'm just excited to see what he's going to look like. Zion, for his career, he averages 25 points on 59% shooting in only 31 minutes per game. He's always kept his minutes low, again, just to keep that pressure off of his joints, because if you're 280 and you're jumping fucking 48 inches in the air and landing again and again. It's going to put some pressure on the knees and the ankles and the feet. But for a dude that's going to give you 25 points on 60% shooting in only 31 minutes per game, you can't just give up on that dude. If if there wasn't the Joel Embiid story to look at and say, Embiid, he was in a similar boat, just injuries for the first 6 seasons. Then year 7, he just puts it all together and just turns into a godlike player. I'm sure the Pelicans are looking at that and hoping for the same thing for Zion. I don't know where the Pelicans' brain is at, but I'd be thinking, let's get Zion back out there. Let's let him play amazing for 1 or 2 seasons straight, and then we can decide if we want to keep him or if we want to trade him at that point. And that would be a really hard decision for the Pelicans to make. Because let's say Zion plays out of his mind next season. His trade value is really, really high. I don't know if I'd want to trade him at that point for some different assets, first round picks, a different player, or if I just want to rock it out with Zion and see how things go for these next, I don't know, 5, 6 years, however long New Orleans wants to keep him. I'd be worried about Zion's work ethic and just how consistent he's going to be with things, because anybody can get themselves into shape once. It's hard to stay in shape year in and year out, and Zion hasn't given us any reason to believe that he's going to be able to do that, at least up until this point in his career. Again, back to the Joel Embiid comparisons. Joel Embiid, he probably doesn't have the best work ethic. Just like with Zion, there's some things Joel Embiid could have done early in his career to keep himself healthy, as far as keeping weight off of his joints. Same kind of things with Zion. But again, Embiid did have that degenerative knee. He has some chronic injury problems that Zion doesn't have. So that would give me more upside for Zion. I'd be looking at him saying he doesn't have these chronic injuries. He probably has more lifespan than Joel Embiid because he doesn't have those chronic injuries. But on the flip side of the coin, I'd be thinking, man, Zion doesn't have these chronic injuries, but on the other side of things, there's no reason for him not to be in shape and ready to go. Since he came in as a rookie, the only reason, that you could kind of link it together and say he hasn't been able to stay healthy is because he hasn't consistently kept his weight down, hasn't kept up with his training. And if I'm a front office person for the Pelicans, like I said, that would worry me. The fact that he hasn't been able to consistently keep himself in shape. But then I'd be looking at him and saying, dude is only 25 years old. He averages 25 points on 60% shooting for his career so far, and he's never really been able to stay consistently healthy. So, I just be thinking the best for Zion. I just want to think, he's turned the corner. He's going to take things really seriously, from this point forward, and I hope he does, because he's one of the most talented players in the NBA. One more point. Zion reminds me of Shaq because he just came in the NBA. He's just an athletic freak. He can just dominate everyone with his combination of size and athleticism. But since Zion came in, he hasn't developed any kind of jump shot. It's not like he's gotten better at free throw shooting. He hasn't started to develop a three ball in any way. So I'd see those things and just think, I would doubt his work ethic. We have a lot of reasons to doubt it so far, again, with him not being able to stay healthy, his entire career for any consistent amount of time. And I just see that and say, yeah, you have the knee issues, foot issues, whatever injuries you've had up until this point in your career. But just because you have a bad knee, bad foot, whatever it is, that doesn't give you an excuse not to get in the gym and at least work on your free throws, work on your jump shot in some way, as long as, your injury's not too bad. And I haven't seen Zion develop his game in any kind of way so far, or even stay healthy long enough for his athletic gifts to translate to the court and just play like the dominant beast that we all know he is. But again, a lot of positives to look at, a lot of things to be concerned about with work ethic and things like that. But if I'm in the Pelicans front office, it's all positive for me. I'm just saying Zion's turning the corner. He looks amazing right now. I know how talented he is, and again, he hasn't worked as hard as he can for his entire career. He's 25 years old. Imagine if he really starts taking things serious at this point, and if he can give us a 5 or 6 year stretch like Joel Embiid did, where he's just this dominant force that gives us gives us some playoff hopes at least, be able to make it in the playoffs, maybe make it out of the first round if you can surround Zion with some talent. But just excited to see how he looks next season, and I'm hoping Zion can keep that weight down and just keep working hard because he's probably like top three most exciting players in the NBA when he is healthy. But please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get to a big 50 subscribers. Please comment below what you think about our boy Zion Williamson and how him and the Pelicans are going to look this upcoming season. Peace.